All right, welcome back, everyone. We're back with another episode of Revvin the Revenue Engine. I'm one of your co-hosts, Dustin Abney, joined by Justin. Justin, it's great to talk to you again.
We're back. Sorry,
we
everybody.
Are back.
We went on a little hiatus there for a hot second. Lots of changes in the lives of both of us, and need some time to adapt to those changes real quick. But we are finally back with episode, I'd say 2. Or 3, however you want to count the Genesis one. Yeah, super exciting topic that we're going to cover today. We talked a little bit about it at the end of the last episode, but this is one that I think a lot of marketers are going to have their opinions on, and strong opinions on it too. And I'm intrigued to see how the sales folks feel about this topic. So to kind of kick it off, leads versus accounts. That is what we're discussing today. And it's a very Civil War-esque battle for a lot of marketers and salespeople. Is what matters the most? Is it leads or is it accounts? So, cool. Yeah. Well, Dustin, I'd first more. I hear from marketers all the time how their true feelings on leads versus accounts, and it's always very mixed. But from a sales perspective, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it first before we go into a detail.
Yeah, I think so. It's going to depend, again, on the type of seller that you talk to, probably just like marketer. And it's going to depend on the type of selling function that they sell in, right? So from my standpoint, like, they both have a place within the commercial organization. From my experience, the leads, like sales qualified leads, those are things that are great for an account executive who may be working in a coverage model or in a territory model, where it's a little bit more of a transactional sell, where it's like, hey, give me a lead, give me somebody who's ready to talk on the other end of the phone, who's got a problem, and I can just dive in, get that op in the pipeline, and then work it, close it, right? And it's just that more quicker velocity, more leads going into the funnel type of thing. So that absolutely has its place within the commercial,
100%.
Organization. But I think it's going to be more important for those coverage models accounts, right? And those territory-based organizations. As you're scaling up and as you're starting to penetrate the enterprise market, that is where I think it's going to shift over to being more on the accounts-based focus. So I think it depends. There's a lot of nuances to that, where if you're a selling team and your focus is, sourcing and landing net new logos, then yeah, it's accounts, right? You want accounts that are primed and showing intent, and things are looking good on those accounts. For me personally, the role that I'm at now, if I'm thinking about how I partner with marketing, I have a set of named accounts that I have. I have my 10 accounts that I'm responsible for growing and building. And for me, I'm not looking for marketing to help give me leads within those accounts. I'm looking for marketing to partner with me on those accounts and help drive more awareness and more engagement within those accounts. So I'm not looking for a sales qualified lead out of my marketing counterparts right now on my 10 accounts. I'm looking for somebody who can help me warm up accounts, help me get awareness in accounts, and then ultimately push these entire accounts through a later stage cycle, not just an individual lead. So it's a long answer, but I think there's a place for both leads and accounts. As you get more into the enterprise segment, I think the priority and the focus has to be shifting on how do we work with more on an account-based level, not individual leads that will turn into opportunities, but how do we really work an account?
Yeah. Yep. I love that approach. I mean, you're exactly right. Like with the territory, mid-market, SMB type level, leads do matter. I'll admit that. Like, leads definitely have their place. However, I still think accounts reign as king, even in mid-market and SMB and definitely in enterprise. Because we all know, like, at the end of the day, not one person is buying a tool, especially if you're in the software world. It's not one person buying. I think they say an average buying committee is anywhere from 7 to 12, depending on the size of the market. And so one point of contact there is not going to always help move that needle there. And you're going to get very bottlenecked by that one person, because if you are only engaging with them and not the entire account, and you're going off of a lead, in my opinion, I think it's, you're bottlenecking yourself, and that person kind of holds the power of like the gatekeeper almost to you talking to the rest of the buying committee. And if they're simply a champion and not an actual decision maker, that's rough right there. And so, I think on the marketing side, there's been this transition of like old school metrics, old school, pipeline of like leads, marketing qualified leads, SQLs, stuff like that. I get it. It's a numbers game. You want to bring in as much as possible, but the number, when I've done my research on it, the number isn't that great. I think it says, like Forrester said, that like 1% of leads actually turn into revenue. And ultimately revenue is what we want to accomplish as a business. Like you're not going to live off of, leads aren't going to pay for the meals that your kids need to eat. The revenue is. And so that number was absolutely insane to me, that, only 1% of leads on average turn into revenue. So that's where like my whole methodology of adopting ABM and stuff is like been so nice, because you're focusing on accounts and you're focusing on full buying committees rather than just one single point of contact. So, but I will contradict myself a little bit and say that I do think leads sometimes can have a place in ABM. And it's all tactical stuff though. And it's like a specific type of campaign. So like, for example, where I'm at now, we're running a campaign focusing on leads, which is, it was like touching a hot oven for me. I didn't want to do it. At all. But, when I did the research, I saw that these type of contacts were actually like producing 70% of opportunities. So we're like, let's start focusing on these leads right here, this type of lead. And what we found out was people who changed jobs in the past 6 to 9 months, they had, created a lot of opportunities. So we went after them, or we're going after them. But I also have taught the BDRs to also like go after the other buying committee as well. So we're starting with the lead, but we're also building into an account strategy there. So, would love to hear your thoughts on, or your experience with leads versus accounts, in your sales background. Like, how did you feel when marketers would hand you over, dozens of leads, and versus how you do it today, where you, like you said, you partner with marketing to work on accounts. Can you tell me a little bit about the two experiences that you've had?
Yeah. So when I first, started selling, even at Redgate, when I started here 6 years ago, it was like a territory-based model. I managed all of the Northeast territory. So I had tons of accounts, tons of opportunities, to go. But, we were, while we still had our outbound motions that we focused on prospecting as full sales cycle reps, like we did eat quite well based off of just the lead flow, because we didn't have an enterprise segment. We didn't have a named accounts team. We just had this territory model. So all of our enterprise accounts were even, just they were there. They're up for the taking in your patch as your territory lines were drawn. So for me, like I used to do well. I used to thrive off of inbound, but it was also because it was a velocity game. It was a high number of leads. And you have leads from product downloads. You have leads from events that we would run or that we would sponsor. We have leads from webinars. We had leads. It's just like there's a lot of different sources that we could get leads. And hey, I will still take a lead today. Like, don't get me wrong. I'll still take a warm body on the other end of the phone that's raising their hand saying, hey, I'd love to talk to Redgate. I definitely wouldn't turn my nose up to it by any means, but it is a little bit different type of sell. And the way that I think about it is like from a lead perspective, when somebody's coming in as a lead, to me, if I think about the buyer's journey, and let's say it's 15 steps in a buyer's journey, by the time that lead comes in, you are probably engaging with them in step 7. And, they're probably almost halfway through their buyer's journey by the time they become a lead to you. That's got its pro, right? Obviously, they're further along in their journey. You're closer to a close if it's there. The problem, though, with that is things that are done through those steps 1 through 7 are really important in helping you as a seller win that opportunity. One of the key things I would say is if you're not showing up till step 7, if someone else was engaged before you, right, you're not helping shape the decision criteria for the solution. And anytime as a seller, I want to be part of helping my buyer shape the decision criteria because I want to make sure it's in favor of my solution and not a competitor's solution. So by the time you get to, if you're not coming in on the deal until step 7 or 8, because it's a lead, it may be a really good lead and it makes you still have a good high chance of closing, but there's a lot of things that's happened leading up to that point that you weren't a part of. And that's where there's some potential shortcomings, right? And a lot of it has to do with, shaping that success criteria of what they're looking for out of a solution. You're missing out on that education piece of helping educate them a little bit more to some of the nuances to the problem they're trying to solve, or educating them to how your solution can actually benefit them versus other things. So that's whereas if I were to focus on accounts, like I'm focusing on now, you have a couple logos that I'm going after that they're pretty much going to be net new logos for me. And the way I'm thinking about it is like we can go in from the very beginning because we know of a challenge they're facing as a business, and we can go in and we can help build awareness, and not awareness to our solution, but we can help as a selling team, sales, me, my BDR, my ABM counterpart, we can go in as a selling team and we can go in at that step 1 and we can build awareness, not just to our solution, but we can build awareness to the problem that we know they are having that maybe they haven't really illuminated yet internally within their organization. And that's what happens in that step 1, 2, 3 is building that awareness, illuminating the problems, and then you're getting into the engagement. That's when you can start to actually shape kind of the buyer's journey and actually be part of that rather than coming in, more than halfway through and then you're just dealing with the opportunity. So for me, I think it definitely shapes the sales cycle because you're entering the sales cycle at different funnels of the buyer's journey. And I'd much rather be a part of step 1 through 15, not just 8 through 15.
Yeah. I love that part that you talked about of, I think you're exactly right. The whole first 1 through 7 steps, that's where account strategy versus a lead strategy comes really into play. Because by the time, like you said, by the time the lead gets there, they've already done almost 50% of their research or the buying journey gone already by the time they actually come knock on the door. So an account strategy is helping you go out and find those people before they even start, going around searching for homes. So that's where I think the account strategy is much stronger, is because now you can start to build awareness, and you dug deeper into what building awareness means. And I think a lot of companies, a lot of organizations start to miss the point of what building awareness actually means. It's not building awareness around your solution. Yes, you need to do that. That is part of it. But it's also a big part of it is building awareness around the issue that's at hand. So for example, at my company, 360 Learning, building the challenge around maybe employee onboarding. You just had, reaching out to accounts that have high growth in the past 3 to 6 months. There's a challenge of, how are you going to act or proactively and effectively onboard them from days 1 through 30 to ensure that they are successful? How are you going, to pre-board them? And that's a challenge right there. It's pre-boarding. What does that even mean? And so creating that challenge there that they didn't realize was, or they may have realized, they may have thought about it, but now it's bringing it to light and bringing it to surface. I think that's super impactful right there. So that's some of the big benefits of an account strategy. But yeah, you're right. Leads definitely have their place. So and I don't think any salesperson is going to turn their nose up to a lead for the most part. However, there is always that disgruntled sales team. That's always, I hear it all the time. Corporate bro says it. Everybody says it on the sales influencer life of we get these crappy leads and they don't turn into anything and stuff like that. Have you experienced anything like that where you're just you just get this pile of just leads that are God, I see that you're raising hands, but these are nowhere near decision makers or buyers or anything like that?
I mean, honestly, not not in recent years for me.
Good.
I've been, I mean, obviously, I just transitioned back to the IC world. Been managing for the last 3 years. So, yeah, there's times, and, one of the things that we're even focused on now and at my organization, Redgate, and this isn't just the enterprise space, but everywhere, it's doing more, the way that we partner with marketing. It's more about like account handover than just leads. Like we have a demand gen, function, but we actually have a campaigns team, and that aligns with our ABM team. And the whole thought is, we're going to leverage solutions to give us intent data, and then based off of that intent data, the marketing team will say, hey, here's these accounts. This is the intent data. This is the type of messaging that we could be using. Now it's your job as the AE to go do the homework and get in front of these people. And yeah, it's based off of intent data. So they are further down that journey because they are obviously raising certain intent, showing that they're researching for our types of solutions or keyword searches, things like that. So they are still a little bit further, but it's still more of that account-based kind of handover. So for me, I mean, when I think about like bad leads, things like that, like every person, that's a seller has gotten a lead that's like, Batman@hotmail.com and stuff like, and those like, and I've seen some pretty funny email addresses in my day, that I won't say, on this podcast, but people get creative with their fake emails to get trial downloads and access to white papers and webinars and things like that. So, it's inevitable. You're going to stumble across those things. But very rarely, if it's an actual sales qualified lead, domain checks out, right type of person and persona, that I'm going to talk to them and it's going to be just completely off the rails. It's very few and far between. So maybe I'm very fortunate that that's the case. Maybe they were just kicking tires and they weren't really interested and all of that. Like, I get that. I'm not going to be mad at that. Like, somebody downloaded our stuff and it's a pet project or they're doing something on the side, but that's not marketing's job to qualify the leads to like a hard opportunity, right? Nice. It's my job to talk to them as a seller and figure out if they are legit, right? If a seller takes the lead, like a product download, for instance, and puts them in the funnel and invests all this time, and then they don't end up buying because they didn't get access to the power and they don't have the budget, guess what? That's not marketing's fault. That's your fault as a seller because you didn't use a framework like MedPick, or you didn't follow a certain methodology to do to check the right boxes before you invested your time. So I think a lot of times when sellers say these are crap leads, I think a lot of it is it's either they're putting too much, hope into the leads. Like they're not doing their own outbound prospecting. They're praying these leads convert because they need it, or they're spending their too much time on the leads that they shouldn't be because they don't know proper qualification. So for me, it's like, if I get a bad lead, it's not the fact that the lead's bad. It's probably more just either I didn't do my job well enough early on to disqualify them, or it's going to be more along the lines that the lead is, it maybe just not be the right time for them or something, right? Yeah. And then I can just disqualify it early on.
Man, you're about to have a bunch of marketers listening to this and being like, yes, a salesperson gets it. That's what we're trying to hear. And then the salespeople are like, what the hell, man? Like, what the hell? It's funny that you mentioned the fake
come on,
emails.
Bro. You doing marketing on us?
Right. I had a funny story about, I got a fake number from a lead when I was an SDR, and it was so funny. I couldn't even be mad at it. I got the lead. I was like, all right, cool. Got the number, typed it in, immediately started calling. It's a freaking Hogwarts school number. It's like a fake number. It's just like awesome. The Hogwarts school. That's awesome. Like, oh my God. Yeah. Like, you just went through so much time to just razz us. I love it. I couldn't even be mad. I was like, this is hilarious. That's cool. I think last topic would be really good to cover is how can you turn a lead into an account strategy? And you started to hit on it a little bit of like how you as the seller it's your job to partner with marketing to, develop these accounts and engage these accounts and do that. How can marketing and sales work together to take a single point of contact, a lead? Let's say you somehow got one from an account, and you as a smart salesperson, you partner with a smart marketer. How can you take that lead and expand into engaging the entire account and turn it into an account strategy? What's kind of the first step that you're looking at right there?
Yeah, I mean, so for me, the first thing that I do, if I were to get any sort of lead, is it's easy to just kind of jump straight on it, right? And I get it. You have an SLA, you want to follow up within 24 hours and start the conversation. But like for me, if I get a lead for an account, I'm not just going to sit there and go, cool, it's a lead. Let's see if I can get like the immediate opportunity on the table. I think it's important that you take a step back and you look at the account as a whole. So you look at, okay, what is, they're coming to you for a specific reason, right? We already talked about they're further on their buyer's journey. So they have a problem. They're trying to solve something. But for me in the enterprise space, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, if say it's an account that I'm not already focusing on as a strategic account, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to go and I'm going to start doing my research into the account. I'm going to go, just as if it was going to be a key account. What are their strategic initiatives? What are they saying in their 10K? What is their investor presentations talking about? Where are they saying, their growth is coming from? Like what is actually happening to their business? Because it's my job as a seller is to find the business priority, right? Find the objective they're trying to accomplish from a strategic C-suite level, and then connect the dots to our solution. Because a lot of times, at least for me, a lead's going to come in and it's going to be probably an end user of the software. There's multiple layers between the end user and the actual business result, right? And it's my job is to figure out what is the business result that they're trying to achieve as a great organization. Because now what I have is I have somebody interested in engaging with talking to us, right? We can get the opportunity in the funnel. We can start working on that project with them. But it's my job then is that I can go figure out enough about the organization, figure out the business challenges, tie that back. And now I can start to build more awareness with other lines of business. Because now if I can tie it back and say, oh, they're looking at this solution, I see they have this bigger initiative, I can tell that story. Well, while I'm starting to work this one small deal or whatever it is and start building out this little project, there's no reason why we can't start building awareness across other lines of business. Because we know it's a greater objective that they're trying to solve, right? It's something bigger that they're trying to accomplish. So there's no reason that I can't start going and try to build and find new champions in other lines of businesses, because maybe it is a very siloed one-off use case and that happens, and that's fine. But a lot of times, key projects and initiatives are back to something bigger, and there's more lines of business, there's more teams that are all trying to do the same thing. And there's no reason that just because you have a lead, you have to dive straight in and just put your horse blinders on for that one contact and that one team that you're going to be engaged with on that, based on around that lead. Take a step back, look at the bigger picture in that account, and that's where you can partner with marketing to really give it some thought, and ABM specifically, about like, what's the bigger strategy? Like, what's the bigger story that we should be telling to this organization? Because now, by the time you shape that, you could have that opportunity further down funnel. You can be in POC. You may be even getting close to landing a small deal, which is great. Well, now you have internal champions, and you've done all this other homework to tell this really great, compelling value story about how you can impact the C-suite. And now you have champions within the account, and now you can really take off.
I love that. You basically just took a lead and kind of read it as an intent signal. And you said, all right, there's obviously some sort of need there. There's an intent signal, basically, and it's a very good intent signal because they're literally coming to you to say, help me. But you're taking it broader and diving into 10K reports, understanding what they're trying to accomplish. Where can your solution be a support there? Understanding who else is in the buying committee of this. Are there other teams that could benefit from this? Stuff like that. And I think marketing can help by, helping you craft up a really good first call with that lead, while also maybe working with your BDR or doing automated emails, but reaching out to other people in the buying committee, engaging them with educational content, and just really being more of a partner and not asking for meetings, but being more educational, launching ads to this account to then, through LinkedIn and display, and, engage the rest of the buying committee with solutions and challenges that others are facing similar to them. And so all that's going on right there is that you are talking to this lead while marketing is making this magic happen of talking to all these different pieces of the puzzle. So when that lead goes back to his boss or her boss, they're like, I've actually just got a couple of emails from them. They wrote this really good, the state of database DevOps, for example, with Redgate. I just read into that. Like, let's take more of a look into it. It kind of can do multiple things that, like you said, set you up for so much success as, when this does land, but also it can help accelerate the pipeline. It can do a lot of things. So taking that lead into an account strategy, I think is one of the most crucial steps there. And I think that's just good selling and good marketing at the same time. So, well, this was great. I know we're starting to come at time. Big thing though is what we've taken away from this is that there is a place for a lead strategy. There always will be. It definitely does. It shouldn't be your whole strategy, but it definitely needs to be part of the strategy to help fill in the pipeline that an account-based strategy just can't fully fill. But account strategy is where you start thinking more strategically, especially when you're going into an enterprise market. You've got to take an account strategy rather than just a single point of contact there, because that is a beast of a sell right there. And if you're only going after one person and only talking to one person, you're doomed to fail. Like, you got to be talking to multiple people, getting people in there. But now that you've got that account strategy, now you're focusing on that. You got to focus on what type of accounts you want to go after. So I think that kind of leads into our next episode, is where we'll be talking about identifying what is an ideal customer profile, or ICP, some people like to say, and how to develop that, how to work with marketing and sales together to develop that ICP, and go from there. So stay tuned for that episode coming up. We'll dive into that. But if you have any kind of feedback, any kind of questions or things you want to hear about, let us know. Feel free to put some messages in the comments. Find us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, LinkedIn, and anywhere you find us. Please smash that subscribe button and follow along this journey with us. But Dustin, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for letting me grill you this time. I wanted to hear more from the sales side of like what you agree with the sales, or leads versus accounts, and I definitely loved every bit of answer there. So it's been a pleasure. Glad to be back on with you.
Yeah, good chatting again. So yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with our next episode. So until then, keep on selling and closing that revenue.
See you guys.